In the shadows of highly classified hangars across the United States, a transformation is occurring, one that doesn't just iterate on the past, but seeks to redefine the very nature of the sky. This is not merely an upgrade, it is a fundamental shift in how power is projected and how wars are deterred. The era of the fifth-generation fighter is drawing to a close, and in its place a ghost is rising. The world watched with bated breath on March 21st, 2025. It was a day that signaled the return of American industrial might in its most lethal form. President Trump stood before the nation to announce that Boeing had secured the most pivotal defense contract of the century, the development of the next-generation air dominance fighter officially designated as the F-47. The name itself carries the weight of history. By invoking the legacy of the P-47 Thunderbolt, the rugged, heavy-hitting jug of World War II, the Pentagon sent a clear message. This is not a delicate instrument, it is a hammer, but unlike its ancestor, the F-47 does not rely on armor plating and raw grit. It relies on being invisible, and when it chooses not to, be being faster and more intelligent than anything that has ever flown. The contract, valued at over $20 billion for the initial development phase alone, is a testament to the urgency of the moment. For years, the Air Force has warned that the F-22 Raptor, though still the king of the skies, is a platform designed for a world that no longer exists. The F-22 was built for the European theater, for short-range sprints and dogfights. The F-47 is built for the Pacific. It is built for the vast, unforgiving blue emptiness where tankers are targets and runways are thousands of miles apart. What makes the F-47 truly feared by our adversaries is its designation as Stealth++. In the world of radar cross-sections, we are no longer talking about the size of a bird or a marble. We are talking about an aircraft that interacts with electromagnetic waves in a way that suggests it isn't there at all, even against the low-frequency radars that were supposed to be the silver bullet against stealth. Boeing's engineers have moved beyond the fragile coatings of the past. The F-47 utilizes advanced ceramic-based composites that don't just absorb radar, they withstand the brutal friction of Mach 2 plus flight without degrading. This means the aircraft stays black mission after mission, reducing the thousands of maintenance hours that typically haunt stealth fleets. But the speed is what haunts the tactical planners in Beijing and Moscow. In modern air combat, speed is energy and energy is life. The F-47 is designed to cruise at speeds that make current fighters look stationary. This allows it to dictate the terms of every engagement. It chooses when the fight starts, and more importantly, it chooses when it ends. With a combat radius exceeding 1,000 nautical miles, it can launch from the relative safety of distant bases, like Guam strike deep within contested territory, and return before the enemy has even completed their damage assessment. Yet as impressive as the airframe is, the true revolution lies in what the pilot carries into battle. The F-47 pilot is no longer just a stick and rudder flyer. They are a conductor of a lethal orchestra. This fighter is designed from the ground up to command collaborative combat aircraft, autonomous loyal wingman drones. Imagine a single F-47 crossing into enemy airspace. To the enemy's radar there is nothing. But in reality there is a formation of 5 aircraft. 4 drones fly ahead, their sensors soaking up the electronic signature of the battlefield, their jammers blinding enemy SAM sites, and their internal base carrying the missiles that the F-47 doesn't want to expand yet. The pilot sits miles behind this shield, seeing everything through the drone's eyes, making the high-level morale and tactical decisions, while the AI handles the intricacies of the flight path. This is the combat cloud in its most potent form. The F-47 doesn't just talk to its drones, it talks to every Aegis destroyer, every submarine and every satellite in the theater. It is a node in a global brain capable of calling in a strike from a ship hundreds of miles away on a target it just spotted with its passive infrared sensors. The stakes for this program are absolute. Boeing understood this, which is why they took the unprecedented step of investing $2 billion of their own capital to build a classified factory of the future in St. Louis before the contract was even signed. They knew that in this new Cold War, the slow and the hesitant would be left behind. The Air Force plan calls for at least 185 of these machines. On the surface, that number seems small compared to the thousands of F-16s built in the last century. But when you account for the fact that each F-47 acts as a force multiplier for a swarm of drones, You are looking at an aerial force of unparalleled density and complexity. As the first operational units prepare to enter service between 2029 and 2030, the silence in the hangars of St. Louis is the sound of a closing door. The door to a time when American air superiority could be challenged is being shut, bolted and barred. The F-47 is not just a plane, it is a promise that the sky remains ours. But even as the F-47 prepares to take its throne, the Navy is moving in a different, perhaps even more specialized direction. They have their own ghost to summon one that must survive the harshest environment on Earth, the deck of a carrier in the middle of a storm. While the Air Force prepares its F-47 to dominate the high-altitude corridors, the United States Navy is quietly refining a beast of a different nature. Deep within the research labs of Maryland and the design bureaus of the defense giants, the F/A-XX program is taking flight. The Navy faces a paradox that the Air Force does not. To be effective, a carrier-based fighter must be a master of contradictions. It must be light enough to be catapulted off a moving deck, yet strong enough to survive an arrested landing, which is essentially a controlled crash onto a steel floor. It must be invisible to the world's most advanced radars, yet carry enough fuel to loiter over a carrier strike group for hours. The F/A-XX is the Navy's answer to the DF-21D problem, the long-range Chinese carrier killer, missiles designed to force American ships to stay thousands of miles away from the coastline. If the carrier has to stay back, the planes must be able to fly further. The F/A-XX is being engineered with a range that dwarfs the current F/A-18 Super Hornet, ensuring that the tip of the spear remains sharp even when the hand holding it is forced to reach from across the horizon. But the sea is a cruel master. Salt air corrodes sensitive stealth coatings. The constant pounding of the flight deck shakes delicate electronics. For a 6th-generation fighter to survive here, it cannot just be a navalized version of a land-based jet. It must be built from the keel up with a different philosophy. Boeing and Northrop Grumman are currently locked in the final stages of a competition that will decide the fate of naval aviation for the next 50 years. The F/A-XX will not just replace the Super Hornet, it will redefine the carrier air wing. In the 2030s, a carrier deck will look fundamentally different. You will see the manned F/A-XX, but surrounding it will be a host of specialized unmanned companions. Some will be tanker drones like the MQ-25 Stingray, extending the fighter's reach even further. Others will be electronic warfare drones acting as a digital fog to hide the fleet. The pilot of the F/A-XX will sit at the center of this web, managing a multi-domain battle that extends from the depths of the ocean to the edge of space. They will receive data from submerged sensors and overhead satellites, processing it all through an AI-enhanced interface that filters out the noise of combat to reveal the path to victory. Yet as the Americans consolidate their lead, the silence from the east has become deafening. The Chinese J-36 is no longer a mere rumor or a grainy satellite photo. It is a flying reality, and it represents a leap in industrial capability that has caught many in the West off guard. When the J-36 was spotted flying over Chengdu defense, analysts noticed something peculiar: the lack of vertical tail fins. This tailless design is the holy grail of stealth. Without tails, an aircraft has almost no side profile signature, making it nearly impossible to track during a turn. For decades, Western engineers struggled with the stability issues of such a design. The fact that China is flight testing it now suggests their fly-by-wire software and aerodynamic modeling have reached a level of maturity that was previously thought to be years away. The J-36 is a massive aircraft, suggesting a cavernous internal weapons bay. In the chess match of the Pacific, this is a direct threat to the tankers and AWACS planes that the US relies on. If a J-36 can slip through the outer layers of a defense screen, it doesn't need to dogfight. It only needs to fire one long-range missile at a high-value target to cripple an entire operation. The race has moved beyond the drawing boards. It is now a race of factories of rare earth minerals and of lines of code. The mid-2000s and 30s are approaching, and the sky is becoming a much more crowded, much more invisible place. The Americans are betting on integration and raw technological sophistication. The Chinese are betting on rapid iteration and industrial scale. Both know that the second place finisher in this race doesn't just lose a contract, they lose the ability to say no to the winner. As the tension thickens over the Pacific, we must look back toward the cradle of modern aviation, Europe. Here, the sixth generation race is not just about physics and fire control, it is a brutal struggle for continental identity. The FCAS Future Combat Air System, led by France, Germany and Spain, was envisioned as the ultimate symbol of European sovereignty, a $100 billion statement that the old world would not be sidelined by the titans of the East and West. The vision for FCAS is breathtakingly ambitious. It isn't just a jet, it's a system of systems. At its heart is the next generation fighter N, GFA sleek delta-winged Ghost designed to replace the Rafale and the Eurofighter. Surrounding it is the combat cloud, an artificial intelligence network so dense it would theoretically turn every soldier, tank and drone across Europe into a single thinking organism. But in the halls of power in Paris and Berlin, the combat cloud has been overshadowed by the fog of political war. The project is currently a troubled giant. Behind the scenes, the friction between the French company Dassault and the German-led Airbus has reached a breaking point. It is a clash of philosophies. France demands a carrier-capable, high-performance strike fighter to maintain its independent global reach. Germany seeks a defensive interceptor and a more equitable share of the technological know-how. The silence in the negotiation rooms is more dangerous than the roar of an engine. By late 2025, the cracks became impossible to ignore. German officials have openly questioned if the price of partnership is too high, while France remains fiercely protective of its aerospace crown jewels. If FCAS collapses, it won't just be a failed defense program. It will be the end of an era of European military cooperation. While the giants argue the dark horse has been running a different race, the Tempest born from the UK, Italy, and Japan's Global Combat Air Program is moving with a predatory focus. While FCAS struggled with bureaucracy, the Tempest team moved their headquarters to Reading and began cutting metal. The Tempest is being built for a world where the very air is a weapon. Its engineers are focused on directed energy lasers designed to intercept incoming missiles at the speed of light. They are designing a cockpit that doesn't exist in physical space, using wearable virtual reality that allows a pilot to see through the floor of the plane and control a swarm of drones with a mere glance. The British have already committed over £2 billion, and the Japanese have brought their world-leading sensor and microelectronics expertise to the table. They aren't just building a plane, they are building a technological vacuum drawing in the best talent from across the globe to ensure that by 2035, the Kongquanfeng Tempest will be ready to sweep the skies. The choice for Europe has become binary. Does it unite under a fractured giant, or does it follow the agile dark horse? Some analysts predict a seismic shift, a world where Germany walks away from France to join the Tempest, creating a massive unified Anglo-Japanese-European alliance that could rival even the American F-47. We are standing at a crossroads where the decisions made in quiet offices today will dictate the casualties of a war 20 years from now. The engineering is hard, but the trust is harder. In the sixth generation era, the greatest stealth technology isn't on the wings of the planes, it's the true intentions of the nations building them. The blueprints are finished, the factories are humming. The pilots of the next decade are already in training, though they don't yet know the names of the machines they will fly. These 5 programs, the F-47, the J-36, the F/A, XX, the Tempest and the FCAS, are the new pillars of global order. In this race there is no silver medal. There is only the dominance of the high ground or the silence of the fallen. The sky is no longer a limit, it is a battlefield of ghosts.